Hello.
Hi, Wahoo. How are you?
I'm fine. And you? And you?
I'm all right. It's just tired. It's in the middle of the night here.
Oops. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Okay, where is the... Yeah?
What?
Where is everybody? I thought I'm late. Or...
Well, you are. I was about to leave in one more minute. So, Albina was the only person who responded and said she could come, and she checked in and said she wasn't going to be able to make it. So I guess that's that. But we can. Again, no one really worked on the Mars sessions, so not particularly surprising that nobody's here since nobody worked on it.
Okay.
Like it takes effort to put on a session. Like you actually have to invite people and organize it and plan it. It doesn't just kind of like magically happen without work.
Okay. So, what's the best move for guys?
For what?
The best move forward. We wait. You
Oh
go
no
to
no no!
sleep.
We can just go and do whatever we want to as far as right now. Do you want to check in and say what you've been working on, or no?
Okay. You haven't shared your screen or something.
Okay, I can share my screen.
Okay.
It looks like there might be one other person who's interested in coming. So basically, I'm like at 5.5 right now. I've been busy doing lots of external client work and could use help with client relations. And then also, just working on taxes mainly. Taxes and more. So that's my check-in.
Okay, M9. That go to bed.
You're a 9, okay.
Excited to be here. You know what Mars is all about.
Cool. So let's see here. Setup, video, agenda, session rules. So basically, we would fill the session rules, facilitation. I don't know if you want to do any note taking, timekeeping. Do you want to do timekeeping?
Yeah, I'll do timekeeping.
Can get rid of video indexing for now. Task responsibility master. I guess I can do that. We start our check-ins. Did we get our other friend here? Hello, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Okay, good. What's your name?
My name is Vakar Likhan.
Wakar?
Yes.
Cool. So we just did check-ins. It's just me and Wahoo and you. So it was only the 3 of us. But you can just check in, say where you're from, and yeah.
I'm from Pakistan.
And how are you doing today?
Yeah, it's very well.
How are you doing today? And we usually do a number between 0 and 9 for how we're doing. Can you hear us, Wakar?
Yes.
Can you hear us? So, like, we usually do a number between 0 and 9 as far as how we're feeling today.
I'm feeling very good.
So like a 7.5, 8. Wahoo's a 9.
Just my. Yeah.
Okay, I can't really hear what you're saying. Wahoo, do you want to check in again for Wakar?
Okay, Wahoo from Kenya. 9. I'm excited to be here to learn more about Mars.
Cool, and my name's Jay. It's the middle of the night over here. I'm a 5.5. Been busy doing a lot of external client work and could use help with client relations. I've also been working on taxes a lot. So that's my check-in. Cool. So we got our check-ins going here. Just let us know if you need to get going. And I can also add you to the Mars group, Wakar. And yeah, we'll go for it. All right, there we go. All right, look, we have another person here. Ismat. Ismat, would you like to check in? Ismat, are you there? Hello? I guess Ismat's not there, huh? Okay. Maybe Ismat's just listening in and not, or doesn't have audio or something like that. You can always check in via Skype if you can only text, which is also fine. And maybe Wakar and Ismat, you could try to do a buddy team. All right, so let's add to our attendance. So this will be part of our note here. So we have Wahoo was about 15 minutes late, and then we had Wakar about 20 minutes late. All right. Oh, Ismat's trying again. Can you hear us, Ismat? Are you there? No. Okay, so I think we can skip our evaluations and prioritization because I don't see the link to the prioritization spreadsheet and just go straight to desired outcomes and topic review for what we want to get out of the session. So a couple of things that we could add pretty quickly here would be, to learn about the Mars session. I think there's two things. One is a setting up for now, and then also just like learning ideal for setting up in the future. So are there other desired outcomes or topics to review? Wahoo, do you have any questions? I think we could also go over main buddy teams for Wakar and involvement. If he's interested in getting involved. Any other topics?
What do you normally discuss in Mars session? We're okay with that.
Well, it only happens once a year, so every year is pretty much totally different. But we could do our annual goals.
Okay.
So our goals for a year. So we can start with our methodology proposal, which we always do, and then we could go through introduction to the Mars session, and then we could go over main body team and involvement questions.
Jay, can you check me the goals, which kind of goals we have to understand the goals? These goals are belong to this category, goals for the year.
What? Just going over the goals for the year, or did you have another question? Another desired outcome?
That's only for the goals. Which kind of goals are that?
Yeah, we can go for the goals. I think we could also do an introduction to the FQN community network. Could be good as well. And then maybe if we want to, we could do some Mars session setup. So, and then there's the two parts. There's the for now, and there's for future session in 1 year. So the introduction to the Mars session shouldn't take more than like 5 minutes. And the same would be true for the FQN community network. So I think this is pretty good on time. Are there any other topics that anyone would like to discuss? I guess when we go through our goals, we could go through implementation.
Equity.
Team equity.
How about equity?
Just equity in general.
Yeah. Family and friend. System value.
Okay.
Like
We could potentially cover a little bit of that in here as well. Any other topics? Did we lose anyone? No. Okay. All right. Well, are there any objections or any other topics or desired outcomes or any objections to our topics?
no.
Okay. So it looks like we have agreement on topics and desired outcomes, which is good. So let's see what is next here. So then we go to our scheduling. So at the bottom of the hour, oh wait, did we get someone here? Oh, Ismat. Can you hear Ismat? Hello, Ismat? Nope. You can also try texting here. Hello, Ismat. Can you write in the text box? All right. So at the bottom of the hour, we do what we do 30-second stretches. And the top of the hour, we do 5-minute break. Okay.
Okay.
So if you can just remind us, Wahoo, that would be good.
Okay.
Any other questions on our schedule? Maybe we try to stop, around like 7:30. Maybe start wrap up, and then finish around 8. And then UTC would be so this would be 1:30 /2 UTC. Okay, so any other questions on our schedule?
No.
Oh, should I go ahead and set an alarm, or are you gonna remember, Wahoo?
I will remember.
Okay.
5 minutes after that.
So in about
We
1
have
hour,
like another 30 minutes.
in about 1 hour,
Top
we'll
of the
start
hour.
wrap up. Okay. And we're doing
Okay.
a 30-second stretch right now. Everyone should stand up and stretch.
Perhaps you can communicate with Ismat at the tech.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Ismat. Hello, Ismat, can you hear us? Can try it. Let's see here if Ismat is. Okay, Ismat. No. I don't know about Ismat.
There he is.
Are you sure that's it?
Yeah. Yep. I think so. That is.
Ismet Amar. So that would be Ismet. There it is. All right, so maybe we'll get a check-in on Skype from Ismet. That'd be good. All right, any proposals? Anything else before we get started? And we'll be ready to get started. Oh, Ismet can hear us. That's good. So we can add Ismet to text only. Ismet. Okay. So eventually, if we had a lot of people, we would end up with a group of people who would be text only, and they would do their own group, separate from people who are full voice communications. All right, so here are our topics. We're going to start with the methodology proposal, which we always do at the beginning. It's basically like a terms of involvement. So let's do this. It shouldn't take more than like 5 minutes. And it should technically be linked to, actually I have lots of questions regarding the session, but okay. All right, so let's see the final methodology proposal. Here we go, methodology proposal. So the proposal is for the terms of involvement, and we're approving the Unity methodology and all related Unity methods, policies, protocols, guideline systems, and processes. I would vote yes on this. And then we have the link to the doc and the information here. So then we want to have Waqar. So Wahoo and Waqar, do you want to vote on the methodology proposal?
Okay, I don't know the proposal. What the proposal is all about.
This is our terms of
Let me check
involvement.
all the proposal.
Yeah, this would be our terms of involvement. It is basically just agreeing to all of our methods and policies and protocols, and it primarily is making sure everything is an open, transparent, interactive, and empowering process as much as possible. It improves our nodular holographic hierarchy, and we're a multi-strategic global organizing model. So that's basically our model, and it's kind of like our terms of use button. Like when you go use Facebook, you click the terms of use, and you basically, when you join Facebook, you agree to all of their legal terms and agreements. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm for yes.
Okay, so Wahoo's a yes. Waqar? Waqar, are you there? Hello? Waqar, we seem to have lost Waqar. All right, well, maybe he'll come back. Hello, Waqar? I don't know. I'll make a Skype note. Oh, you can hear it? Waqar,
Yeah.
do you agree to methodology proposal terms of involvement? All right, so maybe we can Skype vote. All right, so then the next, any other questions on the methodology proposal? Okay, Waqar's a yes.
No.
All right, so we can move on.
So far, so good.
Okay, so Mars session. So the Mars session is, one of our primary global sessions. It's the first session that anyone can join regardless of budget, right? So that makes it very important. It's also the primary membership session. If we were actually organized, we would be doing membership elections and appointing boards and just overseeing the primary membership of the network. So we can go over what like a membership is. So, and then from there, the Mars session happens about once a year. I believe it's every 355 days or something like that. So, I don't know, maybe 54 days. We could check on Wikipedia.
Okay.
To just see what the Mars session is. So this today would be the perihelion. So this is the day that the Mars is the closest to the sun. And that happens once every 2 years. So it's an orbital period of every 686 days would be one orbital period around the sun. And we call this a root point cycle. So it is, let's see, 686.979 1 divided by 2. So it's about every 343 days. 343 days. And you can kind of see here a little bit of our Mars sessions. So today's September 16th, last one was October 7th last year, and then November 20th the year before. And I believe there might have been one before that, but yeah, maybe not. So any questions about Mars? So today is the perihelion, which is the point in space-time when Mars is closest to the sun. From there, you end up, like the aphelion is the point furthest, and then we call this root point time, so that it's a exact point in space-time where no other cycle is involved. So it's just a single individual cycle, so it's a root point cycle of time. Most other cycles of time involve multiple planets or multiple conjunctions or multiple cycles and spinning and other activities, you know. And then there's a lot of time periods, for example, like the day where there's no start time or end time. It's just like continuous cycling. Like, yes, a day happens to be about 24 hours, but there's no particular start time to that or end time, whereas a root point cycle has a very specific point where it is the exact moment, and the perihelion of Mars is one of those. So any other questions about Mars before we go on to the membership?
Does that happen 1 year or 2 years, according to research?
The perihelion, which is the moment that Mars is the closest to the sun, happens once every 2 years. But we have a Mars session once every year because we do the Mars aphelion, which is the point where Mars is furthest from the sun. So it's kind of like the halfway point. So we have a Mars session at the halfway point between perihelions, as well as at the perihelion. Does that make sense? And so today is the point at Mars is closest to the sun.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions about the Mars session?
No.
Okay, so let me go into the membership. I think it would be good to note that, I mean, there's a lot of interest in Mars. There's many organizations and groups working on going to Mars. I mean, there could be a lot of interest in the Mars session just in general as a society. And that the Mars session does exist. Mars session exists independently from the FQN community network. So what that means is that anyone, it's an open session, and anyone can come and discuss anything they want to and communicate and work together as a global community. So that's basically you know, the space. So it's like when we organize the Mars session, our goal is to invite the public and community and allow people to communicate and work together. So hopefully one day we'll actually be doing that, because right now we're just not doing that yet. As far as the FQN community network, we also use the Mars session as our membership. The membership is the primary oversight of the network. It is equivalent to shareholders, ownership, you know, in the membership. So So basically, we're a non-profit network. So our primary oversight and control of the network is the membership. So at this meeting would be where we appoint the board or boards, and also set strategic, set goals and plans for the year. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So we have shareholder ownership and membership.
Yeah.
So
the membership
exactly
is the primary. Membership is primary for the nonprofit, and then for for-profit structures, we have ownership and shareholders, depending on what type of organization it is.
So basically, the FK only work with membership.
No. We're a social profit network. So as a social profit network, we have equity is part of the for-profit branch. So for-profit branch equals ownership and shareholders. And this includes our token distributions, which is all and equity distributions and shares, and distribution of shares. So all of this is automatic. So automatic distributions of equity and value in the network. So just by being present here, you get value in the network, and any work or collaboration that people do with us, you are gaining, tokens, equity, distribution. So the only component of this that's problematic is just that there's work to do to distribute the value, to distribute tokens, to distribute equity, to track the equity and the value. So that's the only hard part, is that someone actually has to step up and do the work to calculate and track everybody's time and involvement, and then the distribution of the value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the primary engagement is as members, right? So as a membership, everyone has equal vote and voice as a participatory democratic network. So it's equal, open, involvement and vote in the network. So when you have equity, the equity and ownership and shares are distributed based on contribution. So distribution based on contribution. So you end up with an unequal distribution of value. But the membership is equal. Everybody gets equal vote as a member in the network, in the various branches of the network. So that's the primary. This is the primary organizational model. So as far as making decisions and appointing a board, it's like me and you and Wakar all have one vote.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though, for example, I would have more equity in the organization, it doesn't give me any more votes. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions, Wakar?
No.
Yeah, all right. Cool. So also, everybody's automatically a member when we start doing more recruitment and we're recruiting people. We recruit them directly into the membership, and therefore they basically are a partial owner in the network directly from the very beginning, and that's automatic. Cool.
Whether you are in the budget or not.
Whether you're independent?
In the budget or not? Approved in the budget?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the budget. Yeah.
Okay.
So people who want to make money are not allowed to work unless they're in the budget, but then the Mars session, you don't have to be in the budget in order to be involved in the Mars session. And it's the first session. The next one after the Mars session would be the Ceres session. The Ceres session happens once every 2 years. And then you have Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, etc., etc. And then there's various other galactic cycles embedded in between. So I guess the only other component here that we could quickly go through would be some of the setup here for the Mars session. What it would mean to actually run the Mars session correctly. And we can go through this more later if we get to it. But basically, for now, it would be, we would want to do our board elections. And it's also important to note that there is two distinct, what we would call sessions. This is the real-time session. So the real-time session happens once for the set time of the Mars session. And then you have what's called the asynchronous session. Asynchronous session. So this happens online with voting and involvement over the course of usually it's 3 days. A minimum of 3 days. So the asynchronous Mars session always happens, or would happen, with the real-time session being in between. So it'd be 1 day before, and then you have the day of the real-time session, and you have 1 day after. And so during the asynchronous session is where you coordinate a lot of the voting, prioritization. So this would be voting, prioritization, and elections, right? So typically the goal would be to coordinate all of the voting and online engagement of the public, right? Anyone could vote. We would just put it up on all of our email lists and Facebook and wherever. And then hopefully that would happen before the session. So when we got to the session, we would be actually going through and seeing what the results were. So ideally for the real-time session, you would review the results and input from the public. And then maybe send out a second round for after the real-time session. That would be ideal. But in our case, obviously, since we didn't do anything, if we were going to move forward, the next steps would be, creating the voting form with all the names of all members. And then we'd be ranking the membership for elections of the board. Okay, so if we wanted to do that, we would do our rankings of the whole membership, and then also we could take our goals and priorities for the year, and rank them with more people as well. So that would be the two next steps that we would do to really have a functional Mars session, is that we would need to do full elections, and we would need to do our priorities, get our priorities ranked. Okay?
Okay. I have a question. How do we appoint the board?
So the way that we appoint the board in our systems and processes is we just do a ranked elections. So the way that it works is that we just automatically nominate everyone to be on the board. And so therefore everyone is listed on our elections form. And then you score vote each person, and then you end up with a ranking for so like you'd have the first person, the number 1, you would ask them if they want to be on the board. So basically the main difference between like a normal board nomination is that we ask people if they want to be on the board after the vote. So anyone can be ranked into the board, into the top position. And then you ask them, because if you don't even rank them, then they might not even know that people want them to represent, the community. So I think it also helps in just getting more recognition of people of who there is more interest in being involved. So then, like, let's say the person is asked, and if they don't want to be on the board, you go to the number 2, etc. Then you go to the number 2 person, number 3 person, right? And then we would also vote on how many people we want on our board. For the FQN Workers Board, FQN Workers Organization, we're a cooperative, so we, as a worker organization, we are a worker-run cooperative organization of active workers. So the worker-run organization, I think we have 7-person board and 8 octant representatives. So it's something like that. So it's a maximum, I don't know the maximum be, but I believe it's a 7-person board right now, but we can change that. People could vote on how many people. So if you would take, for example, if there was 30 people ranked, you would take the top 7. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course you have to be in a budget, in the budget,
No.
right?
No.
Yeah?
No. This is not applicable to budgets. So the board meeting happens at the when's the board meeting? The Bouncil meeting. Let's double check here. So if we go to the global main network, the Earth session. So here's the structure of the organization. Primary decision-making structure of the network. And again, this is irrespective of the Mars session. This is just the FQN Community Network. We utilize the Mars session for our decision-making, but the Mars session can be used for anything, right? So for us, we use the Mars session for the membership. So it's the membership team. The Legion meets at the series session. The Legion is more like just online engagement. So the membership can also meet at the series session. But the primary membership meeting is the Mars session. It happens once a year. From there, twice a year, you have the Earth session. And so twice a year, you do the Super Bouncil team. And the Bouncil is the where you have basically a Bouncil. Bouncil is equal to a board plus a council is equal to Bouncil. Okay. So, in the context of the FQN workers Bouncil, you end up with a 7-person board plus a 1 representative from each octant across the world. So we break up the world into 8 octants, and then you end up with 1 representative from each octant, which is an 8-person council. So if you take the council and the Bouncil together, you end up with some number between 7 to 10 usually. So it's 7 to 10 people total. It just depends. So basically, you take the top 7 people, but you want to make sure that there's at least representation from 1 person per octant minimum. That make sense?
Yeah.
So however many people to ensure that we have at least 1 representative from each octant plus, 7 overall appointed from across the world. So there would be a minimum of 8 people on the Bouncil, but only 7 people necessarily on the board.
Okay.
So that's how we structure the workers' council, and that's also how we structure the supra council. And again, that meets at the Earth session. So the Earth session would be the next session that we would be planning, which is in January. So January, like usually it's January 3rd or so every year, is the Earth session, and this would be the actual board meeting, or in our case, we do a council meeting. Okay, so. But anyone can use the Earth session for anything they want to. We just happen to use it for our board meetings. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the council, what are the requirements? If, for example, I want to be the council,
just showing up for the Earth session. So the first thing is we would have to do elections, right? So it requires doing an elections, the board elections. So everyone's automatically. So I can show you here. I believe I have. I might be able to just find it quickly in Skype. So let's see.
Okay, Jay, we are supposed to take a break. We can continue or take a break.
Okay, but let me just show you what it looks like. So this is just like the normal elections form, right? So you list all of the people, and then you would rank each person, like, you know, all the people. You would just rank each person, and you'd be voting for each person based on their involvement. You know, a lot of people you wouldn't know, but some people would know everybody. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but the difference we would actually have to create a separate voting form. So we'd have to create a separate voting form, and this would be a responsibility for the membership elections of the board, because we would need to include everyone, not just active workers. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that would be a responsibility. All right, so we can take a 5-minute break. Think that we've pretty much covered everything, except for future session. I mean, basically would go through the step-by-step process. So there's a lot to do to get ready. I mean, basically, the easiest way to look at it is that we just kind of missed our opportunity for this particular Mars session. So I don't know if anything's going to happen. So we could just plan for next year's Mars session and not worry about this one. But if you were interested in helping conduct the elections, I mean, we could still do the asynchronous session and send out, voting and ask people to vote, and then prioritize it and get the results if we wanted to. Anyways, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and go on to our next topic. Did you have any other questions on the introduction to the Mars session?
No, maybe if I take a 5-minute break, I'll come up with a question.
So yeah, we'll double check and see if there's any other questions on the Mars session. Otherwise, we go on to the introduction to the FCAN Community Network, and we can talk about that next. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, look, it's Asif.
Hello. Yes.
Hi, Asif. How are you?
Hi, Jay. I'm good. What about you?
All right. Yeah. Like a 5:30 today. It's still really early, middle of the night here in California. You want to check in?
Yes, Jay. I'm going to check in. Yeah. Hi, guys. My name is Asif Iqbal, and I was a worker of African community, and I'm too much excited to join the Mars session. I was a little bit confused about the timings, but nevertheless, yes, I'm at 6.5.
Great. Yeah, the global sessions timing can be a little difficult, but what are you gonna do? So, at this point, we went through our desired outcomes and topics. And so if you want to add anything, you can let us know. But we did our methodology proposal. Everyone voted yes. I think you voted yes on this before. Let's see if you're yes, though, right? Introduction to the Mars session. We went through it. We went through that. What is the Mars session? How does the membership work? Board elections, just understanding the asynchronous Mars session, the real-time Mars session, and setting up the Mars session. And also we went over the decision-making structure of the Afghan Community Network and the Afghan Workers Council in Bouncil. And then we're just taking a break. And so when we come back, we're going to see if there's any last questions on just the introduction to the Mars session. And then we're going to go on to the introduction to the Afghan Community Network. Okay?
Perfect. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
But Wahoo, are you back? Are you ready to continue?
Yeah, I'm back.
Wakar, do you want to introduce yourself for Asif?
Pardon?
Do you want to introduce yourself to Asif?
It is okay. I'm Monahu from Kenya.
Cool.
Well, I used to work at FK, but now I'm a guest, I think, right?
Well, it's each person decides their own involvement level based on what they want to do. And we can talk about that next. I think on our agenda, we would have main buddy team and involvement for people, okay? So that's our next topic after. And then we're going to do our goals for the year, implementation of goals, and that's pretty much it. And then we can start wrapping up. We're going to wrap up hopefully in about 20 minutes, half hour. Okay, Asif, does that sound good?
Yes, it sounds good to me.
Great. All right. So, any other questions on the Mars session? Introduction, purpose of the Mars session. Okay. So,
if possible, can you have the link for the Mars session or for the document, please?
Yeah. And let's also add you to the Skype group. So, Mars session. Where's the Skype group? Okay, so I think that looks good. And like we can also link to notes. Oh, perfect. Okay, so let's go on to the introduction to the FQN Community Network. I'm gonna make it really quick. Basically our overall goals and purpose is to create space for people to come together around the world to solve global crises. Some of our statements are to help solve the problems of the 21st century, utilizing transformative networking. So our primary functional method is what's called transformative modeling. So we do transformative networking, transformative communication, and we are part of the World Collaborative for Transformative Community is our primary, or one of our nonprofits. And then from there, we also do life support, which is like, supporting individual community leaders to help, transform the world. So, life support is everything from, grounding to financial to individual relationships, whatever someone needs to really function. Like without that, it's very hard to step up in your community and become a leader and support your community and support the world. It's very difficult to do it when you're struggling. You can barely even help yourself. So life support is very important to be able to allow our community to grow and step up. From there, we use terms like putting unity back into community, which is an interesting concept, how our communities are usually very divided and fractured. So the idea is unifying and bringing unity back into community. And then also we wanted to unite all peoples and social movements of the world towards total societal transformation at every level. So that's kind of like the overall vision is, how do we unite people from very distinct, separate and different cultures, lifestyles, experiences, worldviews, who may have very little in common, but we all live together on this planet and we all experience and interact consciously. So our main focus is social movements and uniting the various different branches of social change in the world, because that seems to be where the most energy is. And then we unite the people within those movements. So that's kind of our goals and visions. In reality, resources, communication, language barriers, it's just all very, very difficult. Very difficult to work together. Also, there's strategic differences. So in reality, it's just extremely hard to actually accomplish any of these goals. As a network, primarily we function with clients, then we get very busy, with clients, so we are not particularly successful in fundraising, and therefore we do client work to bring in our finances, and it makes us very busy. We also do not do much in the way of follow through in getting the work done. For example, inviting people to the Mars session. So we should have invited everybody to the Mars session. It should have been much more engaged. So that's kind of like an overall, like, what is the African Community Network? From here, I would spend time going over the list of problems, crises, solutions, but you can just watch the video for that. We have a video that goes over all that.
Excuse me, Jay.
I was saying that the next step in terms of introducing the African Community Network would be to go over all of the problems and solutions and crises in the world that we're trying to help.
There is a
What?
The vision part, bringing unity to unity, bringing unity to community.
Uh-huh.
What does that mean?
A lot of our communities are very fragmented and fractured and separated. You know, for example, especially here in the United States, everywhere it's just all about money and just, you know, struggling and trying to get yourself, you know, it's a lot of competition. So the idea of bringing unity back in a community is actually, you know, understanding that our community and our strength as a community comes from, you know, letting go of our differences and coming together as, you know, one people, you know. So that can be very difficult, but it's important.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's, I mean, I guess the only other thing I could mention here is that we do new infrastructure. So we're building new economic infrastructures, new political infrastructures, and new educational infrastructures. That's kind of what we're building. And part of that is our global sessions and new time cycles, new communication systems. You know, so literally just building the Mars session in and of itself is what we are, right? But the Mars session will exist independently and separately from the FQN community network, because the Mars session itself can evolve to become anything it wants to, because it's just an open session that anyone can get involved in.
Okay.
So hopefully this all kind of makes sense. Are there any questions? And then we'll go into the team and network equity.
No questions from my side yet.
Wahoo, any questions on your side?
New economic structure. How are you doing that? And the rest, and education.
Well, these would be priorities that we would want to go through in detail. You know, but we're doing digital, decentralized, independent currencies. You know, digital value packaging, all different types of decentralized and distributed economic models, and also cultural economic models. Political systems, we're working on parallel governance, everyday normal people. You know, how do you have representation from everyday normal people as opposed to the rich and the powerful and other types of groups? We're trying to get away from corporate power, lobbyists and lawyers, and really going towards just normal everyday connections of people across the world to help bring, you know, new decision-making models. We also use we have a campaign for evolving democracy, and then also scientific decision-making. You know, if you're going to come together as a human society from scratch and be like, okay, well, we have to make decisions. What is the best scientifically recognized model of decision-making that we can create? So it's really not about politics, it's about decision-making. And then the new educational infrastructures is the concept that education is a right, based on the Declaration of Consciousness and all of our own individual conscious journeys that are part of our educational journey. So once that is established and understood, it's really evolving our whole concept of what it means to be educated and to educate and to have access to knowledge, information, and also to be able to interact in that space. And from there, there's infinite possible directions of what education can become in our society, but it definitely involves our new economic and decision-making structures that through education, you are empowered in our society as opposed to controlled. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, somehow. So since now FKI is dealing with client, it's not dealing with it currently.
All of our clients are directly related to these goals, right? So our primary client before was EXA, which was working on new decentralized distributed currencies. Currently, one of our new clients, New Earth Nation, is working on political infrastructures for the world, and then we're also doing healthcare and wellness, which I put under education. That basically everyone's control of their own health. So if you are trying to help someone heal and be better, it's really more of an educational experience where you're supporting that person to learn about how to better take care and understand their own body and their own grounded experience on the planet. So for me, healthcare and wellness is a form of education, but so all the money we bring in is within those goals. Like we're not going to take on clients that don't support our goals and missions as a network. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I want to get involved directly to this education, whatever, how am I supposed to do that?
This would be like, okay, well, typically I look at it as number 1, number 2, and number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, there is no education without decision making and economics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you need decision making in order to oversee educational models. So that's kind of why you need to do 1, 2, and 3. You need resources, you need economic models, and you need decision making and governance to oversee your educational experiences. So it's not possible to do education without both 1 and 2 also existing. So as long as you're willing to work on all 3, you can jump to education immediately if you want to focus on education. Education can be a campaign, organizations, documentations, strategy, and vision, all of it. So there's so many different parts of education and what it can become and how it can exist. I think really just like coalition building, it would be a good start to that. But overall, it's like anyone can work on whatever they want. You'd be considered a volunteer in the network, so you can do. I mean, currently, right? You're currently a volunteer, so you can basically do whatever you want, or if you're working for equity, we can go over the equity. So there's no limit to what you can and can't work on. You would just declare what you want to work on. I want to work on education. Then we're supporting you to work on whatever educational goals you have. And we work with people all over the world already, who are involved in educational, like universities, many people involved in universities all over the world. And we also have people involved in, re-educating, different places in Africa, new ways of cultural and other types. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, the bottom line is that you have to prioritize it. So when we talk about our goals for the year, our goals and plans for the year, if you want to prioritize education, then that would be the time to do it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Any questions from you, Asif?
No, Jay, I'm clear.
Okay, so let's just take a couple minutes, 1 to 2 minutes on, or maybe like 3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes on the equity, team equity, network equity. So we have a guaranteed value packaging for all workers. People can give that up, but then they would have to donate it somewhere if you want to become a volunteer. So this would basically be, for first world, we do 1 million. And then and then from there it goes to 500,000, 250,000, 8 million. So 500,000 would be 500,000, $150,000 over 4 years. So it's a 4-year, $1 million over 4 years. So depending on your needs, 250,000. This would be the value package. 100,000, etc., over 4 years. So, and then it goes, I think it goes down to 50,000. Anyways, I can't remember exactly what the minimum is, but it's somewhere around like 100,000 or something like that over 50 or 100,000 over 4 years. Just to make sure everyone's getting something, and this would be an equity value package. So an equity value package. And so what that means is that it's the equivalent of an investor, investing, like $30,000 or something like that. So what that means is that everyone is an investor. So that's kind of how we see everybody. Everybody's an investor. You're investing in the future of society. And so each person can invest money. They can invest time. They can invest energy, contributions, ideas, contacts, anything, right? So anything you can invest is happily accepted. So there's 3 types of equity or value models. So value and equity types. There is team, there's organizational, and there's network. Yes, Wahoo? Wahoo? All right. So I'm just going to keep going. So for the team equity, like this is the primary.
If I want to invest money-wise.
Invest what?
Invest in money-wise instead of time and etc. How much or anything can do.
So
any amount. There's no minimum max.
So the easiest way to think about, well, here, we'll go through the organizational and network components. Okay, so when I get to the organizational, we can go through money. So team is primarily time, right? So team members, so this is workers, and investing time and effort. Usually we're paying workers, but it's basically, this is the foundation of the network structure. So everyone becomes part of a team, and so you build value into your team, and you get team equity, right? So, right, and team value and equity. So hopefully that makes sense. We're gonna skip it and move on. Right now we have 2 primary teams. We've got the old world team and the new world team. So those are, and then we have the global core team, right? Global core team. And today we are all getting value in the membership team. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, right, who are all in the membership team today, gaining value in the membership team. All right, so then you have the organizational value, So typically our organizational value is both time, money, contribution, etc. That brings value into the organizations. The 2 easiest organizations that you could think about would be, you're basically any contribution of anything, example, money, is automatically implemented as investment. And right, so you would so it's like the easiest thing to think about is like $100,000 is equal to about like we would call an open investment pool right? So $100,000 open investment pool would be equal to about, you know, with community equity and everything, maybe 33% direct equity to our overall organizational model for sort of base organization. But the cool thing is that investors can create any model of investment they want to. So you can invest in anything. Like technically speaking, you're actually not allowed to invest in the network itself because the network as a whole is a nonprofit network. So if you want to invest money or specific things to get equity and value, you actually have to invest into an organization. So it would have to be a for-profit organization. And one model would be like an investment pool of 33% for 100,000, which would equal 100, 33% would be 300.
It's 1330.
Well, that would be 300. So it would be so it'd be about $3,000 for 1%, equal 1%. Right? So that would be one example. There's other organizations that are more like, you know, that there's only like 10% to. So you 10% open investment. But there's also, you know, overall community equity where you get value in all organizations within the network. So regardless of how you invest or how an investor decides to invest funds, they're going to get community equity. And so they're going to get value in all the organizations and companies within the network. But you could choose, for example, to so there's you know, you could technically choose the highest level of community equity to invest in the largest number of organizations and companies throughout the network. So this would only be investing in the for-profit branch of the network, but all of it, right? So you can do that. Or, for example, you could invest in the opposite would be investing into a single company or a single project program. Example is like education. So you could invest just into our educational programs in building educational models. And then the money could go to support that. So anyone who's putting in money, time, energy, whatever, can choose what they want their investment to go to. So each person is empowered to choose where and how they want their investment. All right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So those are a couple examples, but again, you know, even if you do put money into a single program or project or issue like education, you're still gaining community equity. It's just indirectly, as opposed to if you're directly putting the funds into the network, then into the community equity network, then you would be getting more of a distribution of value. It's kind of like more, this would be more like a, you know, hedging, a hedge fund, and distributing value throughout many programs and projects. Whereas this would be focusing the value on a single program or project. And you could do one at a time too. So does that make sense? Any questions on that?
Okay, the 33%, is it monthly or annually?
This would be one time, you know. So so anyways, let's say you gave if you gave $50, if someone put in their $50 and contributed, you know, there's a lot of people who are gaining equity and because they just, you know, they work and they don't give us, you know, they only work for like maybe like $10 and they don't want the money and they don't care, they don't give us a way to pay them, so they get automatically they get like $10 of equity. So if you did $50 divided by 3,000, you end up with 0.0166 value, right? So in this type of investment pool, right? So but you can create any type of investment pool that you want, and you can even create your own organization, right? So you can say basically, I want to invest and create a new model, you know, for example, we could go 50-50 on a new organization, whatever it would be. That organization can have its own structure and its own goals. And then it would create its own budget pools, right? And then it would become a client of the workers, right? So that the power is in the individual, right? Our entire structure is bottom up. Every individual is empowered as an investor. If you have time, you get to choose what time you want to put into the organization. If you have money, you get to choose how you want your money to be involved in the organization. There's no limit. So you could have 5 different investors who all invest their money into the network totally differently. Or you could cooperate and get all those 5 people to all agree to invest into the same organization under the same terms and create a partnership where you're all collaborating together as investors. And we also have a policy that everyone contributes to the network as a team through buddy teams. And this is also true for investors. So ideally, investors would always invest in pairs or groups of 3. So that's really our goal, is that, you know, when we talk to an investor, we can literally tell someone, you know what, we would prefer you to bring your money together with at least one other investor. In other words, get a friend, right? So we can literally not accept money from someone simply because they don't want to do it in a communal way, right? So just like we do for workers, all workers are required to be involved in the network as a buddy team, right? So I mean, if someone was going to, you know, donate money to us or give us money, I mean, right now we really need funds, so we wouldn't necessarily turn it away. But eventually we would basically say, like, look, we are going to require, like, our policy will be that all donors, all investors have to bring a friend, you know, that you invest as a group, as a community, not as an individual. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So in that way, you're kind of teaming up, you know, and then to collectively, investors have, you know, can have knowledge sharing and can share and work together to make sure that everybody is getting the best relationship and interaction possible. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically, we just want to make it as flexible, you know, for any particular investor who's interested in getting involved, whether it be as a worker, time, you know, or money contributions. We just want to make sure that the individual is empowered. So really, the individual can choose how they would want to invest their money, or their time, or their resources into the network. And so we can sit down and create a plan for that. So money can be, so anyone investing any type of resource can make it as restrictive or as open as they want to, right? So it's like, who has control over the funds? How, like, and this could be, you know, decision making over the resources, you know, what the resources can be used for. You know, so you could say anyone and everyone can oversee the decision making, and the resources in the money could be used for anything. Or you could say only these people can oversee decision making, and the resources can only be used for these particular focuses. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of donors and a lot of people who are bringing in money just don't really care. And also our client relations, our goal for client relations is to turn clients into investors, right? That's the goal, is that all of our clients become investors. And we need more client relations work because that is really lacking. You know, we lose a lot of money because we just don't have the bandwidth to coordinate our client relations and to build up the value. All right, so I think we're ready to move on. Any questions about, oh, actually, I wanted to do, this was just for organizational equity. So we did team equity. So organizational value and equity. And obviously I could go through specifics of each organization and what the different models are, you know, for investing in various organizations. But anyways, there's endless possibilities. And then the last one is network equity. So with network equity is very, very different. So on a normal day, you know, 1 hour is equal to 1 hour, right? On a normal day, $1 is equal to $1. Okay. But then you take the Mars session. The Mars session is equal to once. It happens once every 343 days. So therefore, 1 hour of Mars session is equal to 343 hours of network equity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The full moon session, or not the new moon session is once every 29 days, technically 29.54 days. So 1 hour of new moon session is equal to 29.54 hours of network equity. So basically the way that our network functions is that you come to the sessions that are the most important sessions if you want value. You just don't miss like a big session. So I believe this, like if we look at, I think the Saturn session was equal to 5,000 plus days. So it was equal to 1 hour of Saturn session is equal to 5,000 hours of normal network equity. Right, and the same thing would be true for the value of the donations and the money and the contributions. Everything during global planetary sessions and galactic sessions, right, it's the focal point of the network. Right, so we want to encourage everyone to come together during these times of synchronicity. Right, so it incentivizes and encourages the community to come together during these synchronistic events. So if you only show up once a year, you should come once a year to the Mars session, and that is equal to working 1 hour per day for the entire year. So what that means is that somebody who works every single day of the entire year would end up with, if they work 1 hour, sorry, let me write this out. So person A works every day for 1 hour for 365 days a year, right? And then person B works or comes for the Mars session once for the year. So person A would be equal to 686 hours, and person B would be equal to 343 hours. This would be 1/2 of person A. Does that make sense?
So basically, the 343 is equals to U times by $1, right? Because the network equity.
It's times, it's you multiplied by value. So whatever the value is, like let's say we're distributing tokens, so this could be tokens, equity, shares. It's just value, right? So once you have the hours, you can translate it into value, and then you can distribute the value however you want to with equity, tokens, shares, whatever you want. But the key thing here is that person A, worked every single day of the year and got 686 hours of value, whereas person B only worked 1 hour, 1 day, and has half the value of person A because they came for the Mars session. That's how important the Mars session is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I think we're good.
Makes sense to me.
I think we're good on the network equity. Overall, right now we have no network equity distributions, so it's required to meet minimum criteria for overall network equity to take effect. So because we didn't do the work, we did not do the work, the minimum work, do the minimum work for the Mars session, we do not get Mars session network equity. Okay, but we do have for the FQN workers organization, there is network equity. So we do within the FQN branch, the workers branch, we will get network equity. But this is kind of like, how would you say, it's sort of like mock network equity, or it's kind of it's contained only within the workers. So it's basically until we actually start functioning as a network and inviting the public to the sessions, we don't get the value ourselves. Does that make sense? Like we actually have to do the work to get the value.
Okay.
Yeah. But we do get value as workers in the network equity, and so this can still be tracked so that we can practice and understand network equity within the workers organization or cooperative. All right, so hopefully we'll continue to improve upon our equity distributions and models and get this all going because it's just super duper important. All right, so we're ready to move on. Any other questions here?
No.
Okay, so let's move on. The next topic is, well, involvement. Yeah. And then maybe we could do our goals during checkout. So involvement. let's start with Asif. Or we could start with Wakar if you're here. Are you still here, Wakar?
Breaking up.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So Wakar, do you have any questions on your involvement? I mean, I guess there's one thing. I mean, bottom line, anyone can be involved in the Mars session. If you want to get involved in regular session, like worker sessions, you must have a main buddy team with 1 to 2 other people and propose a budget proposal to the budget and have it be approved by your main buddy team and the overall global core team and the HR board. All right, so that's what's required to be involved on a regular level. All right, so Wakar, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question regarding the MBT. My MBT is with Mazi Ali.
Mazi?
Can you tell me? Yeah.
Do you have a link to your main buddy team doc?
No.
Okay, so you guys haven't made your main buddy team doc yet?
Yes.
You haven't made it yet? So your next step would be to need to create a main buddy team doc and budget proposal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So what is your question again?
The question is that when this session is going to start?
Looks like we lost Pakistan. That's unfortunate. All right.
And your battery is 46%.
Asif is back. We got Asif back. So,
yeah.
Wakar, there you're back. Can you hear us, Wakar?
Yes, I can hear you. My connection was lost, so.
So Wakar, you can make a main buddy team with anyone you want. If you want to choose Mazi, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just make sure that Mazi's working, low number of hours because he has, minimum wage requirements in Canada. But other than that, it should be fine. And you guys just need to create your main buddy team proposal so that we can see if we can fit you into the budget.
Yeah, okay. He will submit, I think tomorrow. I will contact with him now.
Great, yeah. We're working on the budget. We're behind. We're about to go into budget hard stop. But it would be the quarter moon is in a couple hours from now, so we'll be reviewing everyone's proposals. So, just get it to us as soon as you can, and then we'll consider it for the next budget round and just do what we can. Okay? So do you have any other questions, Wakar?
No.
Yeah. So really, that's the focal point is, getting your main buddy team proposal and your doc going. And then you can still be involved in Mars sessions, series sessions, other global long-term scale, as long as you're requesting funds. Even if you're not included in the budget. So eventually, our goal is to have more funds that we can get more people in the budget as best as we can. Cool. Well, we look forward to seeing your proposal. Asif, how about you? What's your situation?
Yeah, Jay, actually, Zillu contacted me and he was saying that Razu Asif is going to leave and he will be, we will propose for, his removal on Fata Moon
quarter month session, and after then he will create a buddy team. I have given him all my proposals, like not all my like budget proposals to him, and he agreed to create a buddy team with me.
With Zilu?
Yes.
Cool. Well, that would be pretty big time. So, there's two issues here. One is so Sifrazu would be cut. Then we have Zilu. So we want to get that. Hopefully, we could get that even by today. The question there would be, are you in Pakistan, or are you proposing, Pakistan?
Sorry, I didn't get you. Currently, I'm in Canada.
Okay, your jurisdiction is Canada as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, there will be the minimum wage limits, and then overall, it might make sense for Zilu to work with Wakar and Mazi and you to work on creating a budget proposal based on the jurisdictional restrictions. But the other question is your situation with paying back the network from the funds that you already received. Do you have any plan on that?
Yeah. For that, what if I told Zilu, and he told that I'm out for the funds and all that. So I told him that is it possible if he can propose in front of you? I don't know whether he talked to you or not, but I told him that if I'm working in a community, right, and my budget is suppose this is just on supposition, and my overall is 200 per month for 15 hours. So I told that Jay can cut $100 and or $150 and pay me 50 until it reaches the total amount. So is that okay if I will be working with you people, and I'll be working for 200 for 15 hours in a month, and you can cut my $150 and you can pay me $50, and unless I don't cover the whole amount.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about it as at the steering team, at the Quarter Moon session, and bring about. I mean, basically, it sounds like your proposal is to consider the funds an advance. So it would be like it would be turning it into a $200 advance, which then you could work off over time. So I mean, we'll see what the proposal is on that. The other options are actually to engage and finalize it, with Upwork and try to like make sure that it's all, just dealt with on our side. But we'll just see what people agree to. So there's a couple different options there in terms of how to move forward with it. But it would be good to get it all dealt with. The easiest way to have dealt with it before was just to request the funds back from Upwork, and then they would have dealt with that on our side, and then you could just work it off and pay it back to them as needed, and then it wouldn't be an issue. So we'll just have to see what happens and what the group wants to do. Okay. And obviously, Zilu.
But yeah, just 1 minute. So if the board did not decide, so this means that I'll be out of the FQN forever. I mean, there might be a possibility for entering, right?
There's always a possibility, and it's whatever the group decides. So if Zilu is supporting you and bringing you back in based on a buddy team, that is the most important thing for me in terms of making decisions on this, right? So and I would want to hear from Zilu on that, right? In the context of the situation from before, none of it made any sense. And none of it made any sense at all from what you said and the actions that took place and all of it. It just didn't make any sense. Like, under the contracts with Upwork, right, no worker is allowed to take money they didn't work for, right? So under my contract with Upwork, I could have just written a simple email and with the staff support, and said like this money was not approved. It should not have been taken, and Upwork would immediately have refunded us immediately, right? And we might still be able to do that. Like, it wouldn't matter whether you got us the money back or not. Upwork is not allowed to charge us for work that wasn't done, right? So there's a double level of not legal activity, right? Where Upwork's not allowed to charge us money, let alone you charging Upwork money, right? So regardless of whether you are charging Upwork money and getting paid from Upwork, right? Upwork would refund us the money, even if they couldn't get the money back from you, because they can't legally take money for work that wasn't done, right? So then if we got the money back from Upwork, that would have solved some of our problems. But you told us that you were going to pay us back $50 a month for X number of months, and basically, you've said things over and over again that were not true, and you didn't follow through with it over and over and over again. So I just don't believe you. I don't believe anything you say. All I care is the actions that you take. You can say whatever you want to say. I simply don't believe you, because you just say all these things and then you don't follow through with it. So, I don't care if you want to be involved in the FQN Community Network. All I care is that the community wants you to be involved, and that everybody is in agreement on what the terms are in relationship to solving the issues of the past. But I mean, it's like, if you need money, ask for money. Don't just take it. It doesn't make any sense, especially if you're gonna make all these, like say this and this and the other thing, and that everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna pay back when you're not. If you're not gonna do it, you shouldn't say that.
Right.
Like, I would much rather just give someone money that they asked for than someone to, take money without asking for it and then say they're going to pay back and then never do. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, So anyways, I'm sure it'll all get worked out over time, and we just need to figure out the best strategy for how to do that. I tried to work it out before, but we just, nothing ever got finalized. So the quarter moon is in about 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 hours from now. So we can talk about it then. If you want to come on the quarter moon, that's fine. Zilu's planning on being there as well.
Okay, I'll be there.
Cool.
I'll try to be there.
Awesome. All right. Anything else for Asif? Do you have any questions, Wahoo, for Asif?
So, Asif, can you kindly make it clear? Did you withdraw the money from Upwork? Asif?
Yes. Yes.
And you spend it?
Yes.
So when Jay go back and ask for the money, you'll be in so much trouble, right? Are you still working?
It's not so much trouble. Yeah, but it was the things which I did not fulfill, to be very honest. The things which were decided were not fulfilled by me. It's not about Jay. It's not about anything. Jay supported me in every means, honestly. And I have no issues in saying this. But I did not fulfill the terms. Well, the circumstances was very much different for me. So I did not fulfill the things which was proposed to me. But this doesn't mean that, anyhow, that's a long story. I wanted to join again and, let's see what we can do better and sort this out.
So if Jay go for the money at Upwork, are you still working there?
Oh, well, it was long before. I think it was 3 to 4 months before, if I'm not wrong.
Are you still a freelancer in Upwork?
Not now.
So, Jay, how will it work if you go for the money in Upwork?
I don't know. I've never done it before. So, I mean, we could just do it and see what happens.
No longer a freelancer there.
Well, he still has an account or whatever. He's just not active. But I don't know. it really doesn't matter what may or may not happen. The point is that I'm not going to do that unless there is agreement and consensus from the team, right? So if it's one of the options, so there's like 3 or 4 options. You know, one option is keeping everything the same as it is now. So options are 1, keep everything the same as it is now. So as it is now, Asif agreed to pay back $200 of the $600 owed, and then the rest would be advance, right? And then he was going to do $50 per month for like 4 months or something like that. You know, so that's what stands now. You know, and then the current situation is that nothing paid back. No funds, right? So, and then we're just waiting. And so if everything stays the same, that's how it would exist, and Asif would not be allowed to work until he's paid back the $200, which is, you know, less than a third of what he owes. So that's one option. The second option is, like he was talking about, we could turn the $200 into advance, and then all of the funds would be in advance, and Asif could start working immediately to work off his advance.
You know, like this, Jay, you know, to be very honest, like this, you know, I will be a part of FQN, and like this, you know, the financial position will be in your hand, right? The number of hours which I'll be working will be calculated against the amount which we are agreed on. And by the second option, by this, you will be able to get the money as soon as possible. I mean, if it did make sense to you.
Well,
I mean,
no
if I'm
money,
agreed on 200, right?
working...
Suppose I'm agreed on 200, right? You pay me $50, you pay me $40, okay? Rest $150 you cut from my advance.
Yeah, well, our policy is very simple. Once you have a back pay or advance, you can work it off as much as you want to. So there's not, if you work the extra hours, there's not really anything, you know, that directly comes in. And then for us, the policy is a minimum of 10% per pay period. But overall, if everyone agrees to this, that's what happened. All right, does that make sense?
Makes sense, yeah.
Cool. So then the third option would be like, you know, official complaint with Upwork. Option 4 could be, you know, any, you know, there's many other considerations in terms, like you're saying, like we could do like an auto payback, or I don't know, something like that. So anyways, there's a bunch of other options that you could do. So I think those are like the more or less the general options that we're looking at. So we'll figure that out, but it would be nice to move it all forward and, you know, see where it goes. But again, this doesn't help me at all. The only thing that helps me is actually work getting done, which, trust me, we spend the majority of our time talking about things that are not getting work done, including this. All right, and just because we hired you back or brought in more funds or did whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean any work's going to get done, you know, because not a lot was getting done before. So let's move on to Wahoo. Any other questions for Asif?
No, and you need to charge your laptop, Jay. You're at 16%, I think, 15 now.
I should be fine. We're gonna start checking out, wrapping up soon. I gotta get going here.
Okay.
But yeah, so let's go on to Wahoo. So Wahoo, how about your involvement?
My involvement.
Well, I can go through some options. Let me go for some options for you.
Yeah, you can do that.
So obviously, first of all, the simplest thing is that your current status is like equity only / volunteer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would equal like, basically you can do whatever you want to, and you can work with the team if you want to, right? Or maybe you just want to be more of like an advisor and, external involvement, which is perfectly fine. So this would be like not working directly internally with the team. And then a third option would be, starting or supporting a specific organization. So let's say you wanted to support and invest your time and energy into a specific, for example, education campaign or some sort of other example like education or budget. So if you did that, then this could be separate and build a separate team connected to the network. So I think those are like three pretty clear options. Either way, you need a buddy team, main buddy team with someone. So I think that's pretty clear. Yeah, does that make sense, Wahoo? What are you thinking of as far as like being involved or?
So whatever option I choose, I have to make a buddy team.
You pretty much, yeah. I mean, you would like even as an advisor or an investor, eventually we would want you to be, to be with somebody, that you are connected to this network with someone, not just as an individual. I mean, we're not going to be super stickler about it, especially as an advisor, external involvement role, right? So this would be the least involved, and this would be, we're not as concerning, for anybody. But it would be good for you to be connected to the network based on our policies of having a buddy team. Everyone should have a buddy.
It is okay.
Yeah.
I can find a buddy team if Steven is available.
Steve O?
Yeah, Steve, the payroll guy.
My understanding is that Steve O is currently buddied with Albina.
Yeah.
So who knows if that'll change or whatever. But in the context of choosing a buddy, you can choose anybody in the entire world. Of course, they have to agree to it. So both people have to agree independently to form a buddy team. Okay?
Okay.
And we are going to be initiating and doing more recruitment. People can work.
Pardon?
We're going to be doing more recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
And people can work in the recruitment commission without being, without having a buddy team and without having a main buddy team, and also without having the final, finalizing the budget. So that's also another option. So option 4 would be focus on recruitment within the recruitment commission and help other new people get involved. So that's really going to be its own separate team and separate groups from the other people, and can actually exist independently from our policy or other policies. So that's another option for you. Okay. But eventually you would want to choose a buddy team. So if you're interested in recruitment, like, just let me know. We're building the whole recruitment commission, the whole recruitment model that we're building right now. is going to be parallel and separate from our existing team systems. So, and that would also be true for you, Asif, if you want to work on the recruitment commission. While you're waiting on everything else, you're welcome to do that. Again, it's unpaid. It's not part of the budget. It's separate. All right?
Right, yeah, right.
Yeah. But you could help other people get involved and support the recruitment while we're waiting on the budget goals. So, Wahoo, any other options or questions for you, Wahoo?
Option 4, recruitment commission. What does that require exactly?
Well, it requires prioritization. So you want to prioritize it. You create a Skype group, add you to the Skype group. And basically, we have many responsibilities, tasks, levels of involvement. And basically, the outreach, recruitment, helping people form main buddy teams and budget proposals, and coordinating our recruitment and outreach systems. And it's all still in development, but basically the main difference from before is that our workers are so bad. So the main difference from before, and let's put this as a little note here, recruitment. So the main difference is that our workers are so bad at recruitment, no matter how much we pay, the work just doesn't get done. So basically, existing workers, so the new policy is that existing workers can't prevent new workers and outreach and recruitment from happening. And we want to have self-empowered, self-resilient recruitment models. So it basically empowers the potential workers. So we empower potential workers to oversee their own recruitment. So it's basically as simple as that. So for example, Asif has a budget proposal. He wants to get back in the budget. He wants to get involved with Mazi. Instead of having to rely on existing workers that are already busy, right? So existing workers are so busy with other work that recruitment falls through the cracks, and then new people don't get the opportunity to be involved, right? So that is against our principles, right? The idea that existing workers could prevent new workers from getting involved is in many ways a form of corruption, but it's like everybody should get to be involved if they want to be involved, right? And if they can fit in the budget or whatever can happen, right, they should be empowered. So basically, potential workers can run their own outreach and recruitment process before being approved in the budget. So it's kind of like a pre-organizational model from before people are approved in the budget. They can get involved, and they can. We have a. There's two ways you can get value for time, equity, shares, tokens, all that, and then also there will be output, and deliverable bonuses of real upfront money, or let's just say of real money. right? So if someone actually does work and does output, then they can get paid, right?
Okay.
If they have a budget proposal. So this is a significant evolution in our recruitment strategy to try to get our recruitment much more functional, because right now nothing is happening with recruitment. So if the two of you, if Asif and Wahoo want to get involved in the recruitment, you guys could be the beginning.
Okay.
So just let us know
I think
if
I
you're
can
interested.
I will do it.
Yeah, okay. So all we have to do is just put you on the recruitment commission. Say again? There we go, recruitment commission. So, Shigini. So, Lucy, Albina are on the recruitment commission. So, we can make a new recruitment commission, or I could just add you to this group, however you want. It's fine.
We can make new recruitment commission.
Okay, so let's change this to be internal recruitment group. And then we're going to create a new group, which will be our external recruitment. So how do I do that? New chat, new group. So this is going to be our external recruitment commission free budget. Cool. So the internal recruitment team, if they want to have a representative to the external recruitment commission, they can do that.
Okay.
But again, it's going to be independent. We actually want this new recruitment team to be functioning independent from existing workers. That's actually part of it. That existing workers do not need to have direct involvement in the recruitment systems, because the recruitment system should be independent from the existing workers.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can get that started, and we'll see if Asif is interested. So we can just send a quick message to Asif. Asif, are you interested in being involved with the external recruitment team? All right, and overall, this would be per recruitment round. So we're going to be doing what's called a recruitment round. After the recruitment round is over, then it would wipe out and start the external recruitment team over again. Oh, look, Asif is back.
Okay.
Are you back, Asif?
Yeah, sorry, I was busy.
Are you interested in being involved in the external recruitment team and commission?
Yes, yeah, why not?
Okay, so I'll add you as well. All right, so let's go ahead and check out. Any other questions on anything before we check out? Okay, so we're going to talk about your priorities and goals for the year. Okay, so I'll start first to give an example. I thought the session went good. I would give it a 7. And I'm definitely still tired. Still 1.8 probably 1.7x overall for me. And I'm looking forward to next year's sessions being organized and having an actual team supporting the Mars session as well as the Earth session. And I'm really glad that you guys showed up. Thank you, Wahoo. Thank you, Asif. Glad people showed up. It doesn't take a lot of people to transform the world. You just need a couple people working together. Can't do it by yourself. For me, the goals for the year, I think my primary #1 goal is really like, you know, fully functional organizational systems, including session support, staff systems, equity distribution, equity and value distributions, and recruitment, budgeting, payroll. I just want our organization to function. If our organization functions, everything else will work. Everything will be fine, But if we don't function, then the network collapses. So for me, that's like my primary goal for the year, which is really a whole bunch of goals in one. I also feel like evolving democracy is going to be good. Oh, let me add one more here. Client relations, very important. Turn clients into investors. So evolving democracy is important. And I'm working with some groups on that. And yeah, I mean, there's so many other things I would love to add, but I just think they're just not important in relationship to our organizational systems. Like if we do our organizational systems, everything else will work out. So yeah, check. Asif, you want to check out?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I really thank you, Jay, that honestly, it was a good session. It was a really, effective, and I really hope to get back, and I want this label to be get out of my personality that I'm not fulfilling the things, but definitely I will work out on it, and I'm very much pretty sure that we'll come out with a better solution. When Jay honestly supported me in every terms, in every field. It was my negligence or something which I was not able to do certain tasks which was supposed to be done in a timely manner. But my intentions were not were not wrong. I don't know how it happens and how we will get it solved. And once again, I really thank you, Jay, for supporting me. And, my goals for the year is to get as Jay told that he wants to get our organization fully functional. I want to get organized myself first, because once you are organized, you are able to get organized for other people. You make things straight for other people as well. So first of all, I would like to get organized for myself in the next year, and also we will get at that point very soon. And working on the external recruitment commission, it will be a good, it will be a good help from Jay. I mean, apart from financial, I'm not caring about financial as well now. Even if I have to work free, for the recruitment, I will go for it. And when I'm saying that I will work for it, I will work for it unless everything are sorted out. Okay, so I have no issue in working on recruitment commission, external recruitment commission for without pay. Okay.
All right, thank you, Asif. Wahoo.
I'll give it a 9. I understand more about the network. My goal for the year is to actually make people comfortable. If you're volunteering, you're coming in as a worker, you feel actually you're bringing value to the community or to the society, and you're accepted in the global community. I think that is that.
Great.
Yeah, and the major goal is to make our world a better place. So that is the major goal.
Cool. Awesome. And oh, okay, so I think that we are good. I think that's pretty much the whole thing. Any last words from anyone, or are we done?
I think we are done.
Cool. All right. So we start at 6, 7, 8. It's like 2.5 hours. So I'm doing a little value tracking here. We had a check-in from Alpina. We had a check-in from Isma. Wahoo, was it nighttime for you? What time is it for you?
It is 5:35 p.m. evening.
Okay, so regular. Okay.
So when person attend at night time, you get times 2. Multiply by 2.
Yeah, if it's in the middle of the night, they get 2x. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right. I'll talk to you all later. Have a good one.
Okay. Thank you, Jay, for having us.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank